Okay, today we're going to talk about the principle of doing your software documentation, not finishing it. What do we mean by that? A lot of people have traditionally thought of software documentation as a project that you complete. And I think that goes back to the idea that you used to deliver books for software documentation. And so you had to finish it. You had to decide, okay, this is what we're going to publish, and this is going to be done at least for the next year or 6 months, whatever it is. We don't need to do that anymore. And so we need to get out of that mindset that software documentation is something that we complete. Software documentation is a way that you communicate with your users and your customers, your clients, whatever it is. And so as long as you need to improve or expand those communications, you need to continue to do software documentation. So we like to talk about it being a process, not a project. So think about it this way. Traditionally, this is what you would do for creating your software documentation. You sit down, you make your list of requirements, and then you get sign-off from people, you write it, you author it, you get this book, and you approve it, and you put it up on your website as a PDF file, okay? And then nobody touches it for 6 months because this process over here was such a pain that nobody wants to go back and do it again. Very quickly, because most likely, or hopefully, your product is changing faster than that, okay? It's evolving based on customer requests or bug reports, all those sort of things. And your software documentation is going to lag behind your actual product. And people have kind of just accepted this as the way things have to be, and that's not true at all. It's a whole different, we have different technologies, we have better tools, we have better ways of delivering this information. So, think of your software documentation as an ongoing process. This is the approach we like to use. First, don't worry about your software documentation being complete. It's never going to be complete. Your software documentation will never be complete. Just write down questions that your users have. Because it's not important that your software documentation is complete, it's important that it's useful. So write down the actual questions that they have, and then answer them by creating help articles. Okay? The more specific the question, the better, because that's going to be actually useful to your user. This way you don't spend a lot of time imagining what you need to cover and what you don't. There's certain aspects of our applications that we don't document, and it's because we've never received a question about it. It hasn't either been something that people are using, or it's something that's so obvious that they didn't really need help with. So you do that now. As you publish this out on the web, it's out there and available, new questions will come in because you haven't covered everything you need to cover here. So as a new question comes in, you add a new help article. Okay? You write the article, and when you write this article, you then send the URL out to the person who had the question. So instead of constantly responding to questions with just one-off emails or that sort of thing, you create new help documents, you publish it, you deliver that help document to the end user. The benefit of this is the next time that question comes in, you have another answer in your software documentation that you can call on to respond to that question. If you take this approach, your documentation is going to grow over time on an as-needed basis. You're not going to write stuff that people don't need to read, and you're going to get into a workflow where this just takes a few minutes each time you're responding, and you're leveraging all that information for future use. So when you're planning how your company is going to approach software documentation, get out of the mindset of this is going to be a project we'll complete and then we won't touch it for 6 months, because nobody will use your software documentation. Think about it as an ongoing process. It's something you do regularly in the flow of your daily business.